So what is a conscious desire that you have?
So a conscious desire I have is to enjoy life and have fun and feel bliss.
Right? All right. Is that desire something that you are manifesting, or is it still out there?
I do achieve manifesting it sometimes in certain areas. Yeah, I do.
Let's look at that page here. And it's interesting that it starts with the exact quote that you mentioned yesterday.
Right.
Okay. So please continue.
To read this quote?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. We cannot solve problems at the same level of thinking that we were at when we created these problems. Albert Einstein.
Okay. So please continue.
Yes. With the advent of the quantum world, there can be no denying that my thoughts influence matter. In other words, that I create my reality. This means that my mind shapes my experience of the external world. If I want to change my reality, I must first change my internal environment. And this obviously is easier said than done.
So I heard you say that you wanted to have fun and that you do have fun. So this is not where you want to change. Where you want to change, with the same example, would be I want to have fun, and I find that I'm depressed day in and day out. Now, there would be an incongruency and a need for change. So that's where that next question comes in. What painful reality and or creation is in auto-repeat in your life, Kim?
I would say, like, for past 20 years or so, that I'm not sure to create a life of bliss and fun that also includes financial abundance.
Okay. So you don't know how to have financial abundance in a way that is pleasurable and fun.
Yes. Yes.
Very good. Very good. So let's say that this is the desire, and we're going to deepen it because ultimately it's all connected. But let's say that this is the desire that led you to incarnate in the first place, just for sake of this inquiry.
The desire to have a life of fun and creativity and bliss that also includes abundance. Yeah. I think I did come here for that.
Okay, very good. So now we know that the painful reality and or creation that is in auto-repeat is that you have not been able to fulfill this original desire. I can't have fun and abundance at the same time. It goes somewhere like this, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So what is the thought that created this expression of powerlessness? Why do you think you can't have abundance and let it be fun?
I'm not sure. And I would add that, like, I have some element of hope that I can have both, or I wouldn't keep trying, but I keep hitting the same wall. And what thought created it?
That's the question. And hope, by the way, is bigger. There's a big difference between I hope I'm going to be well and I trust I'm going to be well. Hope is super deceptive So that's part of the disappointment is hoping.
You know what? The thought that might have created it's something I've come to before, and I don't know if this is it, but it's the thought of I can't have what I want.
Okay. So how does that make you feel?
Disempowered.
What is it?
Disempowered.
Yeah.
Sad.
Totally. And what action manifestation come to you resisting feeling disempowered? What do you do now?
Let's see. Sometimes I rebel by going the opposite way or checking out.
There you go. You run.
Mm-hmm.
You got it. You have your desire and you run from it. Can you see that? Excellent.
I have a question.
Sure, go for it, Anna.
So we kind of are meant to feel both good emotions and bad emotions. Otherwise, our bodies wouldn't be vehicles for feeling both. So would there be, if we allow ourselves to feel both the good and what we have labeled as bad and let it go, then perhaps resistance wouldn't be created, because we label something as bad because they are harder emotions to feel. And then when we label it bad, then we become resistant to feeling something.
You got it. That's right on.
So then if we allow ourselves to feel our worst emotions and let them, what we say is worse, let's say despair or being unable, feeling it and let it go because it's not ours. It was just an emotion and we were the vehicle that it needed to pass through. Then perhaps it wouldn't become stuck and us desiring to feel the opposite of it.
I believe you heard it, and Michael will tell you more about that.
No, I was just saying amen. Yeah, it seems to be the conditioning that we've all received has us resist our emotions instead of literally inviting and understanding them.
Yeah. There is a purpose to negative emotion. I can tell you that this book would not be as clear as it is if Michael and I didn't agree to enter with each other into very dark emotions and leverage them.
I have another question, if that's
Sure.
okay. So, kind of along the lines of what Anna and Michael were saying about not resisting the uncomfortable emotions, or, so like what actions or manifestations come from my resistance to feel this emotion. So the sadness and disempowerment, like, if I'm feeling disempowered to create a life of abundance that also includes bliss, surely the solution isn't just to feel disempowered and sad. Like, I mean, and sometimes my reaction might be to try harder in a way that's ineffective. So, like, where's the middle way? I'm a little confused about that.
So, can you really know what would happen in life if you allowed yourself to completely And the key word here is completely. Embrace your sadness and you're being disempowered. Can you know what would happen? Because I heard you say, surely that's not enough. Can you know that this is true?
It just seems like that would be a choice to be disempowered. And that just doesn't sound like a functional thing in this world.
So what have you ever heard? What you resist persists and gives it more importance?
I have heard that, but for some reason in this case, I don't feel like it applies. Like I feel like if I'm not like trying to rise above my situation in some way, or I'm not taking it's almost like that would be like not taking responsibility for my life in some way. It feels like I would just be like, why I might as well just be a blob or a piece of slime on a
I
on a rock.
understand it sounds very counterintuitive and illogical. And I understand that giving way to dark emotions is scary. And I understand that resisting them is what we've been taught to do. And that's the adult thing to do. Put a smile on your face. Don't let other people know that you're miserable. Pretend.
Yeah, but I don't see myself as somebody who does that. Like, I don't really resist uncomfortable emotions or sadness or anger or fear in general. I mean,
Okay, so I may have misunderstood you. What I understood you said is that not resisting a dark emotion is actually not being responsible for
I'm saying not resisting the concept of like feeling disempowered, like choosing disempowerment, like choosing to go into disempowerment further.
Well, you have a choice. You can either resist it and make it bigger, or you can embrace it and nullify it. That's pretty much law. So you can argue all you want against that. But the more you resist something, anything, the bigger you make it. So if you resist being disempowered, you're going to be more disempowered. If you embrace it, you're going to come into your power and realize that you are not disempowered.
So I'd like to comment something here. Sometimes it's like the belief when we start feeling bad emotions specifically, or what we have labeled as bad, we start feeling that we are those emotions, as opposed to those are emotions that pass through our body and we are here to feel.
Exactly.
For an example with this, would be like, even in a blissful moment or a happy moment, or like, you know, I don't know, loving a child, or having like I don't know, like a beautiful, amazing moment of hugging somebody you love, or holding hands, or I don't know what, a blissful moment. That blissful moment, it's there and you're gonna feel it. And if you think about it, it's not gonna last forever, and your life will be forever that blissful moment. It's like, it's an emotion that you came here to feel. You embrace it, you love it, and you let it go, because then you have other things to feel. So perhaps even those despairing moments, by embracing it, you don't exactly embrace feeling or being that emotion. It's just that right now I'm allowing myself to feel sad and be obliterated by it, and knowing that this moment is not going to last, because it's just in a feeling that it's passing through my body.
Thank you, Anna.
I get that in regards to emotion, but I'm wondering if anyone else here has like any sort of experience with like not taking responsibility for their life, or being in freeze mode, and like it doesn't seem like being in freeze mode and not taking action is really the answer to the problem. I don't know.
Oh, you're so
That's
you're
where I'm
saying,
getting hung up.
you're saying, for example, that perhaps like you then, if you're feeling let's say miserable, and then there's an opportunity that comes by and you're choosing to continue feeling miserable as opposed to grabbing the opportunity that came by.
No, I'm not talking about common emotions like sadness or any of that. I'm talking about the concept of disempowerment. I'm
Yeah.
talking about that specifically.
Well, it
Like,
seems to me like you feel
choosing
like you've got,
disempowerment sounds weird.
it seems like you've got the power to transform yourself, in a nutshell, is what you're saying.
Well, I've been told that, but there are
Well,
times
well,
when
I
I
mean,
have
it's,
sort of taken the back seat in my life and not taken action. And so to go further into the non-action taking
this
seems like the
doesn't mean not to
opposite of
take
what,
action. It doesn't mean not to take action. No, no. It
Okay.
means to know what's sourcing the action. So we started today looking at two different types of desires: core desires and ego desires.
Okay.
Now, I can tell you that I can relate to where you're coming from. You know, when I quit corporate America, I was pissed off at my dad and the world. And I was sick of the idea of a patriarchal business. Even though I was making a lot of money, the forced labor was too much for me. So I went to the opposite extreme. And yes, I also wanted to make money and to be happy at the same moment. I can tell you that that was my desire for a very long time. And I also noticed that I could not do it. I couldn't make my money in my healing profession. And I came to see that I was lying. I was projecting my daddy issues on the world, including business. And as soon as I got clear on that projection, how I showed up for the interview process and how I showed up for the job was a much different space. So it wasn't about whether or not I worked or whether or not I took responsibility for it. It was the mind space of knowing the desire that sourced it. And when I saw that understanding, I got a job within a month, made a lot of money, and still did what I wanted on the side. But what I was resisting was the monetary system that showed up as a controlling, archetypal, patriarchal entity for which I did not want to have my will submitted to. So
Absolutely. I get it.
that's the resistance that I needed to understand until my actions were congruent with my objectives. And I worked and I did it and I had fun doing it. And it was the same stuff I did before, but I enjoyed it.
So it was essentially, Michael, your perception and perspective on the matter is that changed. So what I'm hearing you say is that, like, once you became aware of it, you showed up differently.
My core desire was to wake up, period. And what I noticed was that my suffering was overtaking my life in the form of not having enough money to pay my bills. And that really sucked. And then I realized that I'm capable to work and that the person that I'm punishing is me and my family and my unforgiven past. That's what I needed to understand. And when I did, I worked and I had fun and I made a lot of money.
And that also solves the question of responsibility. The responsibility we each have is to understand our motivations. Why do we do what we do? Why do we play at being powerless? What does that get us? What's the end result? Who are we punishing? Why are we punishing our past, our upbringing? And that's exactly what Michael explained. He took responsibility for his experience. And then, working for corporate America, had become a completely different experience. Same game, but because it took responsibility for the beliefs that created the resistance disappeared. Michael, did I understood you correctly?
That's it.
Okay.
But what does taking responsibility mean in that case, Michael?
It meant to me that I had to look at the fact that I hadn't forgiven my past and that I was playing out an unconscious agenda in my relationship with money and joy. I didn't want joy. I wanted to punish.
There you go.
Mm.
And in Kim's
Thank you.
case,
Thank you so much.
I don't want joy and abundance. I want no abundance and sometimes joy. And the responsibility, Kim, is for you to know why is it that you're creating that reality. And taking responsibility is answering that question. Then you can do the exact same job that now you're resenting as patriarchal and not resent it at all. Do it in joy.
Yeah. What's coming up for me is the word, the opposite of disempowerment is power. And so like, sort of like this unconscious desire. I mean, it's not that unconscious, but like there's something I'm playing out about power.
Yeah.
Well,
And,
try on the idea that one drop of poison spoils the entire barrel of water.
And you see, power's control over.
Yes.
And what you're attempting to control is the job out there. And what we're saying is the job is not out there. That your thoughts, it's right here. Your thoughts influence matter. And what you're in control of, where you have control, is to go inside and see, just like Michael did, what truly motivates you. Because your true desire will manifest as soon as it's true. So right now, what is true is no abundance, no joy. Your work is to understand why you want that. And that's your power. That's stopping the resistance. That's the embrace that we speak of. And it's the opposite of not being responsible. It's becoming source over your pattern. Does that make sense, Kim?
I got lost in there just a little bit, but we can talk about it more sometime because I know we're getting short on time. But I think like the thing about power, I'm not saying that the desire for power is necessarily a functional thing. I think there can be a functional desire for power, use of power, but there, like Michael was playing something out, I suspect there's maybe a power game that I'm playing out.
Well,
yes.
Anyway.
And again, there's a confusion between power over and power within.
And I don't think consciously I want power over, but I think there is something inside of me unconsciously, maybe, that does, just like the unconscious desire of the Korean warriors that you mentioned that wanted revenge, so they created war so that they could exercise their
Beautiful.